one after this manner and another after that.
See, he said he would that all men were even as himself, because Paul was what Jesus called a eunuch. Just like Jesus was, they didn't have no wife, so they was focusing on the Lord's business. But we know all men can't be that, because it's somebody's job to be married and become one with a wife and replenish the earth. Be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. So he said, I would, but he knew better. He said, but every man hath this proper gift of God, like Jesus said, all men can't receive that same. One after this manner, another after that. Verse 8.
I say therefore to the unmarried and widows.
Now this is your shot. You know, if you didn't, it became, if you unmarried or if you a widow, then that's your shot to, if you want to make it by yourself, especially if you was in a marriage already and you had a bunch of headaches from the marriage, then hey, now you're a widow, you can be by yourself and focus only on the Lord. Like I just told a brother recently, I said, because he had an old school wife, didn't want to listen to him at all, and she died, and seemed like he got the same kind. I said, boy, you can't stand prosperity, can you? He said, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I said, yeah, you can't stand prosperity. That was your shot. Even if you're going to marry, if you're going to get married again, wait a little bit and find somebody that's not going to be, you know, so obstinate, just like you was used to. So, but hey, he know what it is now. He got what he got, and he got to deal with it. But he telling you, this is your shot right here. He say, I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. In other words, stay unmarried, and then you ain't got to worry about the oneness. You ain't got to worry about going through some headaches and changes with another individual. You ain't got to worry about that. Go ahead.
Verse 9. But if they cannot contain, let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn.
See, but if you can't deal with it, it's not for everybody, then go ahead and get married. Verse 10.
And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord.
The Lord command this, what?
Let not the wife depart from her husband.
See, once you marry, then that's it. You in on the oneness. And it can be a bad situation. It's that important unless it's just the ultimate extreme. Like I said, like somebody trying to kill one another and all that. Then other than that, and a lot of stuff that be going on, it don't be extreme at all. It'd be a little argument that then blew up into something that it shouldn't even be. But he said, unto the married command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. Go ahead.
And if she depart, let her remain unmarried.
Now, if it was that serious, then he said that's the way it need to go. Let her remain unmarried. So when you know the Lord, you know you locked in. Go ahead.
Or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife.
So neither one of them should depart. Verse 12.
But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. Okay,
so now he said, this is me speaking because, again, this is the horse is already out the barn situation. What do you mean by that? The horse is out the barn because technically the Lord let it be known believers and unbelievers shouldn't even be married. Believers and unbelievers. In Deuteronomy 7, he told Israel, don't marry all these other nations who don't know about the real God. Paul said, don't be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. So a believer and an unbeliever should not be married, period. But again, God is practical. He know you're going to be in that situation. Somebody going to end up in that situation, even not intentionally. So in this case, this is how they ended up in this situation. Maybe both of them was unbelievers and they was married and one of them got the truth. Now they believe. So now the first tendency is say, well, look, I'm with this unbelieving husband or with this unbelieving wife. You know, I need to leave them. That would be the first idea to pop up. But he said, if a brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. So that's how important marriage is. You got somebody that don't even believe in the true and living God, which is really what life is all about. They don't even believe. and you done found out about God, you full of zeal and raring to serve the Lord. See, in the old days, brothers just leave a wife. I ain't dealing with this. But he even cautioned you there. That's how important it is. He giving you some caution and telling you to have some patience in that situation. That's how important the oneness is. But he did say, if she be pleased to dwell with him, of course, you know, because it's been people that came into the word and the spouse just don't want to deal with you no more because of what you're doing. I mean, you can't make her stay, or you can't make him stay. So then that's not on you. But he said, if she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. Verse 13.
And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him.
So on both hands, male and female, that's how important the oneness is. Hey, stick it out. Yeah, it's going to be some headaches. People come all the time. They be like, well, he talking about he want me to cook some pork. Yeah, you got to get past it. And eventually God going to fix it. He going to bring it to the head one way or another, or it'll be tolerable. Because again, if they please to dwell with you, then they going to have to accept something. So the woman that hath the husband that don't believe, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. So that ain't even no excuse to break the oneness, to break that union. 14.
For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband.
He said, look, you will be in position where the Lord will look out for the union for that time because of the believer. Go ahead.
Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy.
See, when you don't know the Lord, you getting married, having children, I mean, everybody unclean. But when you know the Lord, even when one of them know the Lord, hey, the Lord is there. The Lord he'll look out for the one that know the Lord. That's why if you serving the Lord, it's really not nothing that you need to be afraid of. Go ahead, verse 15.
But if the unbelieving departs, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases. But God hath called us to peace.
See, they say, but the unbelieving depart, then, hey, let them go then. If they want to leave, you probably be saying good riddance. But you don't want to force that either, because your goal is to try, because you don't know what the Lord will do. If you force the issue, even if you say, well, I ain't going to leave, but I'm going to act crazy as you know what, so they'll leave, then you still cause the problem, and the Lord going to get you for that. Because you don't know what the Lord was going to do. Just like the Lord made you start believing, he could have made him or her start believing. Go ahead, verse 16.
For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband, or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife?
See, you don't know if you would have stuck it out, your wife would have been saved. And you done ran them off because they wasn't believing when you wasn't believing for a long time too. And God didn't run you off. So that's why you want to stick it out if the other person desires to still be with you, even though they don't believe. That's how important the union of marriage is. Now, skip over to Ephesians 4. Ephesians 4. Ephesians 4. And we're going to look at kind of the idea or some of the groundwork of oneness, because that's the title, marriage, the oneness. Like I said, that ain't something that just happened. Notice what he said here. He's not talking about marriage here, but he's still talking about oneness, and that's the same thing. That's involved in any oneness. 4:1, Ephesians 4:1. Go ahead.
Therefore, the prisoner of the Lord beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called.
So now he said, look, I'm the prisoner of the Lord. I beg you, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation. See, people think you just come to the Lord, you don't got to do nothing. No, he said you walk worthy of the vocation. Vocation is a job. That's an occupation. That's a trade. So when you serving the Lord, that's a job. That's a trade you operating in. Walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you have been called. How? Verse 2.
With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love.
See, even though he ain't talking about, specifically talking about marriage, but this is good for marriage as well. When you marry, this is how your mindset, the man and the woman mindset need to be. He said, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. He talking about us as, period, in the body of the Lord, in the church. We do that to one another, but that means that got to be good for a husband and a wife that's walking with the Lord. With all lowliness and meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another in love. What do you mean forbearing? That means you putting up with one another in love. See, we have to put up with the other spouse when you married with stuff, because there ain't nobody perfect. She gonna make a mistake, and yeah, he gonna make a mistake. So he said, forbearing one another in love, what?
Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Oh, notice he said, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. See, that's what you have to do in a marriage. Again, he talking about the church, but the same thing good for a marriage. You got to be endeavoring to keep the unity, to keep that oneness. That oneness ain't just going to keep itself. Just because you went and stood before some man and he said some words and you said, I do, then you got to go and do it. He said, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit. So you got to endeavor to do it. That means it's going to be things coming along trying to break the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. That's what you're doing. Because peace is good for all of us. Go ahead, verse 4.
There is one body and one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling.
See, this the church. There's one body, but God often compare his relationship with his church to a relationship between a man and a woman. So yeah, there's one body, there's one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your marriage. And we already know that when a man and a woman get married, they are one, right? So in order to keep that oneness, everybody got to be endeavoring to keep it. Now go to Ephesians 5, and we're going to pick it up at 31. Ephesians 5 and 31. So that's some work, though. That's what you signing on for when you are becoming one with your husband or your wife. Ephesians 5 and 31. Go ahead.
For this cause shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
See, again, it's repeated all over to keep reminding us they leave everything else that was important in their life, and that's some of the problems when marriages first start. People don't want to leave everything behind, and it creates problems in the oneness. So he said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. But we just saw that you got to endeavor to keep that oneness. You got to endeavor to keep that unity. You got to do some work to keep that. Everybody got to be working on it. But now back up to verse 22, and we're going to see some of the ways you can keep it, some of the rules to this oneness. Verse 22, go ahead.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord.
See, now this is something that in the world, women don't care to hear this at all. And it's not easy in church, not even in the church where you reading the Bible and telling the truth. But women have heard it, and they know about it when you reading the Bible and teaching the truth. But it's still not easy. It's still not easy to accept, because the world is geared one way and all us come out of the world. So, hey, we don't want to accept naturally what the Lord is saying. But he's saying this for a reason, and this in the Old Testament as well. Matter of fact, when the man and the woman committed sin, God laid it out then. He said, the man was going to rule over the woman. He said, told the woman, your desire shall be to your husband. What do he mean by that? He mean, now your desire is going to be subject to your husband now. That's what it's going to be. Unless you just want all by yourself, again, you ain't got to worry about it. So you got options when it comes to this. The option is don't get no husband. You won't have to worry about that. You can just be subject to the Lord. So, but he said, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as unto the Lord. So even because, I get this a lot, like maybe the husband is not worthy to be submitted to. Maybe he doing something wrong. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Look, he didn't give no exception there. And a lot of times I had to tell the wife, well, you must didn't think that in the beginning. Because you had to get to this point somehow. So the bottom line is this, you're not going to, a woman is not going to lose nothing by doing this, even if her husband don't do what he's supposed to do. The Lord is in control. If you trust in the Lord, the Lord is going to handle that business. So that's all you got to be concerned with. That's why he's saying this. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husband. And he said it, he really let you know the seriousness of it. He said, as unto the Lord. Now, again, this is not popular in the world. We've had some of them politician women come in here and try to shut us down. Mm-hmm. Like that's like this is archaic. He went back 3,000 years. Look, this is good for all times. Because again, it's just like the Bible talk about casting lots in a sense. The Bible say the lot caused it contentions to cease and parted between the mighty. That's what the Bible say. So in other words, you can have two great warriors about to kill each other, and they just said, look, well, let's just determine who's going to get this by casting lots. And then he say that caused it contention to cease. They don't even have to fight no more, and they can part whatever they got. They can just split it up according to what the lots say. So again, it needs to be some means to resolve any disputes that anybody have, even disputes that a man and a woman have. And the means to resolve disputes according to the Lord in a marriage, he said, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband as unto the Lord. That's how important it is. Just like you would submit to your God. He said, submit to your own husband. That's a big statement, isn't it? And we don't understand that. And it's not no excuse to get around that, even though, women don't like to hear that. But go ahead, verse 23.
For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church.
See, that's the way it is. The Lord made it that way. Go ahead.
And he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
He said, let them be to their own husbands in everything. So that didn't give you no room to get outside of that. Didn't give you no room to get outside of that. But then the husband got his job, verse 25.
Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
So now the husband is not supposed to be taking advantage of his wife and neglecting his wife and not taking care of his wife. But the old saying is true. A lot of times, one don't have nothing to do with the other. So in other words, because I hear that a lot, the wife would say, well, he not doing what he's supposed to do. He not doing. Okay, so everybody just go the wrong way then. That don't make no sense, do it? That ain't going to get you nowhere. So, look, you just worry about the Lord and doing your part. Same thing for a husband. It's husbands that might have wives that don't want to do right, that don't want to follow the lead, that don't want to do right. Then, hey, ultimately, can't nobody make nobody do nothing. Hey, they got to wait on the Lord to address that situation, and they still need to do what they supposed to do. They still need to be a husband. But again, what it's going to turn out to be, if everybody's at odds all the time over these small little issues and it's constant bickering and disputing, then you know you got to stay together. You just going to stay together unhappily ever after. You're going to stay together, just be unhappy. And when it could be a whole lot better if everybody do what they supposed to do. It can really be glorious. It can be like when it said the bridegroom take a bride. He rejoiced over her. See, all that rejoicing go out the window when there's one argument though, right? Wasn't expecting that. But some kind of way the line got to be drawn, right? And so the one that the Bible is saying need to submit is the woman. Because a lot of times it just be just a simple disagreement. It'd be a simple disagreement about, the color of some curtains. It'd be anything. And it's telling you the husband is the head. But then the husband as the head, he got to learn how to lead as well, because some men sometimes, they don't even really say what they want, or they don't even just put it on the table like they need to. They just get upset and it just be a problem. So everybody got their issues to address to keep that unity. But that if everybody is striving for the unity, then you would do that. So he said, 25, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. 26. I'm sorry. We're going to skip to 28 to save a little time.
So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
See, that's not no light statement. No. That's where men supposed to love. They're supposed to love their wives as their own body. That is a big statement. But again, that don't mean the man gonna always do the right thing. And if a man and a woman have a disagreement about something, that's not saying that the man not loving his wife as himself. That just says he got a difference of opinion, and that argument shouldn't go until pots and pans start flying. And that's what happened in a lot of cases. They're like, no, I don't agree, And it turned into a fight over nothing. And now everybody is disrespecting everybody when it wasn't about nothing in the first place. But sometimes it's up to a wise woman. She'll diffuse that because it tells you the woman is supposed to submit herself. Even if you might think your husband is wrong. Even if he is wrong, but it ain't nothing earth-shattering. It ain't finna be the end of the world. Even if he is wrong. I told somebody this recently. I know a brother, he came in the word years ago. His wife don't care to deal with the word, but like the Bible said, they stay together, been married a long time, they stay together. And somebody was making fun because they heard some of the stuff we teach. They was making fun of him and her and said, well, see, they teaching over there, y'all gonna go to the wilderness. They teaching over there. Now, his wife don't believe. She don't believe in what he is dealing with, but she pleased, they still together because she know that's her husband. She understand that much. And they was trying to put her on a defensive. Well, they talking about going to the wilderness and going out to the desert, making it sound real crazy. And, she don't really believe. And they said, so you going to go with your husband over there to the desert? She said, wherever my husband go, that's where I'm going. See, that's the way a wife need to be. Even though she don't necessarily believe what's being taught, but she believe in marriage. She believe in the unity of marriage. So she had enough understanding to make that statement, but that could have turned into a fight. She could have said, hey, I ain't going nowhere. He'd have been looking at her like she was crazy. So, but the bottom line again, everybody got their role to play. Everybody got to be endeavoring to keep the unity. So, because the man is the head, that don't mean he's abused, as the old saying go, abusing his power and doing things, detrimental and only, not caring about the family and not trying to take care of the family. So that's why I said, husbands, love your, verse 28, so are men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself, verse 29.
For no man ever yet hateth his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church.
See, even as the Lord the church. That's why men, even if their wife is not doing everything she's supposed to do, men have to still give them the benefit of the doubt. Have to be understanding enough to know that. Because your own, because some men, they get so mad, they tear something up and hurt their wife, right? Well, that obviously wouldn't be the way you would do yourself unless you done lost it. Some men do, like I mentioned, they kill the wife and then kill themselves. Well, that's somebody deranged. But we talking about somebody that's in the realm of reality. Somebody in the realm of reality, why would you hurt your wife and you would never hurt yourself? As mad as you ever got with yourself and know you did some stupid stuff and wanted to kick yourself in the butt, you ain't never did it. Might talk about it. I could kick you. Ain't never tried to really, you just get out and kick me. You ain't never did it. So he said, verse 29, for no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth it and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. So that's how it's supposed to be. Go ahead, verse 30.
For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones.
See, now that's the way it is with the church. See, marriage between a man and a woman is a microcosm of what the Lord got between him and his church. That's how important it is. Go ahead.
Verse 31. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
One flesh. That's permanent. Go ahead.
This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church.
See, he said, in this case, he's speaking concerning Christ and the church. He said, this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. But when it comes down to an individual level, that works as well. 33.
Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself.
Nevertheless, let every one of you particular. So that's the man's responsibility. Now, if a wife got a husband that's not doing that, then the Lord can handle that. Because like I tell women all the time, you married them. Because they be looking at me like I married them. Like I supposed to look, you married them. Don't get mad at me because you married them. So the bottom line is, he said, nevertheless, let every one of you particularly so love his wife even as himself. And if he's not doing it all the way he's supposed to do it, the Lord can address that. You just do what you're supposed to do and fear the Lord. And vice versa. But go ahead.
And the wife see that she reverence her husband.
And the wife see that she reverence her husband. That's a big statement. Reverence. That means show some honor and respect. But now let's go to 1 Peter 3 because this come up all the time. 1 Peter 3. And remember, we trying to keep the oneness. We trying to keep the oneness because God said a twain shall become one. So how are we going to keep the one? The oneness. Everybody got a role to play. And somebody going to mess up, that don't end the other person's responsibility. Because two wrongs never make a right. Two wrongs just going to mean some extra trouble. 1 Peter 3 and 1. Go ahead.
Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
See, now he telling you again that the wives should be subject to their own husbands. Then he even told you, even if the husband is not obeying the word, if the wife is still being the wife she's supposed to be, that's the best way to win the husband to the Lord. The best way is not being like the Bible talk about a woman being clamorous, not glamorous. You can look it up, clamorous. And you should already have an idea what that means. So that's not going to win the husband to nowhere, a lot of cases. So, but he said the way to win the husband, and not just to the Lord or any situation, is still doing what you're supposed to do. But even if it don't, the Lord can handle him. So he said, be in subjection to your own husband, that if any obey not the word. Now, they not obeying the word. But he's still telling the wife to be obedient, because that's what come up a lot of times. Well, he ain't doing what he's supposed to do. So now you just going to act crazy too. Now you in trouble with the Lord. And it definitely ain't going to help the oneness. That if any obey not the word, they may also without the word be won by the conversation, or in this case, the way of life of the wives. Verse 2.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear.
Right. You humbling yourself and being the wife you supposed to be. Go ahead.
Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel.
You're not worried about the outward appearance so much as what?
But let it be the hidden man of the hearts, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price.
See, that's of great price. Some humility. Everybody got to operate in humility. But in a relationship, like I say all the time, somebody got to have the final say, because it just be a small issue and everybody think it should be their way. I'm talking about lips be stuck out and everything. We be mad, not talking over a small disagreement. Well, somebody got to have the final say. Go ahead.
Verse 5. For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in God, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
So this how he said, for after this manner in the old time, the holy women, these are holy women in the Bible, he said they trusted in God. See, that's why they want to put that way back there, but now he telling us up to in modern times, you need to do like the women did in the old time. And the men need to do like the righteous men did in the old time. For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also trusted. Notice he said trusted in God. Because even if your husband ain't right, you still should be trusting in God. If you believe in God. And God can take it from there. You ain't got nothing to lose if you trusting in God. He said, after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God did what?
Adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
See, that was their main clothing. They were being in subjection to their own husband. See, if this was operated on and men was taught to be true men, but see, the world is just totally out of order where, you know, a man ain't got to be a man and a woman ain't got to be in her place as a woman. But if it was done like it's in the Bible, then you wouldn't have all the divorces. And if we were serving the Lord like the Bible say, period, you wouldn't have this foolishness. But go ahead.
Verse 6. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord.
See, and that ain't just something for you to just say and use. He's talking about really understanding. That's of great significance for a woman to call her husband Lord, isn't it? Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. So I know I'm getting cursed out by some women somewhere right now. What? Seriously, is he serious? But this is in the Bible. That's why we stick to reading it. You ain't even got to get mad at me. Get mad at, who is that? Peter. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. Go ahead.
Whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement.
Go ahead.
Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge.
See, husband got to use some wisdom. Husband got to know how, just like I said, women can help diffuse situations. Well, husband need to know how to diffuse situations too. Because if they in charge, a lot of times, husbands don't just want it their way. They want the wife to just totally accept it their way. And the wife might not be ready to accept it that way. So, hey, sometimes the husband just says, okay, well, you don't understand, but we're going to do it this way anyway. And just leave it at that instead of just trying to go back. It ain't going to never end. So he said, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, doing what?
Giving honor unto his wife.
Giving honor unto the wife. See, the wife is honorable and needs to be honored. But still, when it comes to who's in control or in charge, somebody got, as the old saying goes, somebody got to break the tie. Who gonna break the tie? It ain't putting nobody, it ain't making nobody, you know, not important or unimportant like some women might think. No, just, you know, obviously if you married that person, you thought something good about them, so they ain't just the worst person in the world. That's where some sisters try to make me think their husband is. Well, wait a minute, what? You married him, right? Oh, he wasn't acting like that then. He wasn't acting like that. I say, maybe you should have gave him a little more time, let his true colors come out. But really, it just be some bad disagreements in a lot of cases. So likewise, husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as what?
Unto the weaker vessel.
As unto the weaker vessel. So the wife is the weaker vessel. And the husband has to know that and recognize that. And even the wife needs to recognize and know that. Because in this world, some women have been made to think that, you know, it's just, they not the weaker vessel. I can do whatever a man do. Which if you're a woman, you shouldn't want to do whatever a man do. Really. You shouldn't even care to do that. Some women don't want no man that's going to try to be in charge. They want a man who they can, you know, tell what to do. And there's some men out there you can do like that. If you got one, look, be happy while you got them. But don't get caught in the dark alley with them. Yep, good luck in that situation. So he said, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and what?
And as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
See, and this the whole thing. We forget what the whole journey is about, what the oneness is about. We trying to just be together while we here so we can get eternal life. We working together when a husband and a woman is together. They working together for this short time on this earth to get eternal life. It ain't going to last that long under these circumstances. So that's what needs to be remembered. He said, as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So you want to keep the unity, keep the oneness, so you can accomplish the goal at hand. But now, skip down to, I'm sorry, go ahead, verse 8.
Finally be ye all of one mind.
See, now he said, finally be ye all of one mind. That's what the ultimate goal of marriage is. That's what oneness is. He wasn't talking about just the woman disappearing as just one individual. No, that's how it was in the beginning. He took the woman out from the rib and made her, and he brought them back, and they supposed to be on one accord, be of one mind. Just like the whole church is, but definitely a husband and wife. Finally be ye all of one mind. Go ahead.
Having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous.
See, now this is even goes to us in the church, but how much good, you know it's good for a husband and a wife. Having compassion one another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous. This is also, even though he outside the confines of marriage, it's still good for marriage. What else he say? 9.
Not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing.
See, that's all of us. That's me and some brothers around here. Not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but that's still good in a marriage, because that's how marriages blow up and people be ready to get divorced because a little argument turned into, now it ain't even about the original point that was being argued over. Everybody is throwing evil for evil, railing for railing. Now you done said something about her. You can't cook anyway. And then the woman gonna turn around and pull a switchblade out, and don't have to be literal. It can be literal too, but she gonna turn the switchblade out and cut him about something. Might even take it to the bedroom. Now he real upset. That's rendering evil for evil, right?
Yeah.
Or railing for railing. So you're not going to do that, because that ain't going to help matters. That ain't going to get nowhere. And you definitely a long way from being one, aren't you? Go ahead. Verse 9 again.
Not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that ye are thereunto called, that ye should inherit a blessing.
See, that's what you should remember in the marriage. You being married, you trying to inherit a blessing, you working together to inherit a blessing. It's a blessing when the Lord then bless husband and wives with children. That's a blessing. You can have children together but still be wanting to kill each other. That shouldn't be. It's not even that serious. Skip down to verse 12 and go ahead.
For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil.
See, the Lord is watching everywhere. So if you in a marriage and you are the problem, the Lord know that, and he see that, and he gonna deal with that. And that's what the other spouse should keep in mind, that, hey, you ain't got to get out of line with what you supposed to be doing, because now you just getting yourself in trouble too. Now everybody in trouble. But the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers, but the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. He see it all. Go ahead, 13.
And who is he that will harm you, if ye be followers of that which is good?
See, and this is what you can remember. If you doing your part serving God, even in a relationship or marriage, you doing what you supposed to do. If the other one out of line, you ain't got to worry about that. Ultimately, God going to take care of you. You ain't going to get harmed by doing what you're supposed to. Sometimes we think that that's going to help us. You know, well, she ain't do what I tell her, so I ain't going to do nothing. I ain't going to feed her. I ain't going to do this. I ain't going to work. I seen that happen before, where the brother thought his wife wasn't doing what he wanted to do, so he stopped working. He said, I ain't going to work. Was working, making money, bringing money into the... He stopped working and told her she got to work. Now you got to work. And he's sitting at home in his underwear while she going to work. Have fun. But I seen the Lord bust his head wide open. The Lord got him. Lord got him good. Because he wasn't solving, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. But now, he said, and to who is that will harm you if you be followers of that which is good? So if you continue to do what you're supposed to do, you ain't got to worry about nothing. Now go to back to the Old Testament, to Proverbs. Proverbs 11, and we're going to wrap it up. Because though this didn't have a lot of scriptures, I knew it had a lot of verses. Proverbs 11. We still got a lot to read yet. Proverbs 11, and we're going to pick it up at verse 29. Proverbs 11 and verse 29. 11, we're going to read one verse. See, this is what a man can do. See, you got men and women that don't do what they supposed to do. Again, that don't let the other one off the hook. Let the Lord deal with that situation. And a lot of times with both people in the truth, both people trying to do right, neither one of them just trying to be outlandish, so it don't make no sense for things to get out of hand. Proverbs 11 and 29, one verse. Go ahead.
He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart.
See, now this a man who the Lord done blessed him with a house, but he gonna mess it up and he gonna trouble his own house doing crazy stuff he don't need to do, right? He said, he that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind. And who did the woman make him inherit the wind? See, sometimes the woman try to get the man or try to, check him and tell him this and tell him that. That ain't gonna help nothing. Look, you can speak your piece and then just go on about your business. If he out of line to the Lord gonna get him. And if you doing what you supposed to do, the Lord gonna still take care of you. He that troubleth his own house, men do that. Men trouble their own house And he said they shall inherit the wind. That's a pretty big inheritance, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of wind out there, but it's full of nothing. They shall inherit the wind. The fool shall be servant to the wise and hard. Now keep your finger in Proverbs. We're going to 1 Samuel 25. We're going to look at a quick example of somebody that troubled their own house. And see what he got. What his reward was for that. See, but even then, even if you got a man that's crazy as he want to be, not doing nothing he's supposed to be, I tell women all the time, guess what? You married him. I tell them all the time. That's my exit strategy. And most people that's in the word trying to serve the Lord, they not like that. Most brothers that's coming to class and trying to serve the Lord, hey, they not like that. It's just been a disagreement between the man and the woman. Most of them. 1 Samuel 25:1. But if it is, you married him. Go ahead.
And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented and buried him in his house at Ramah. Mm-hmm. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. Mm-hmm. And there was a man in Maon, whose possessions were in Carmel. Uh-huh. And the man was very great. Mm-hmm. And he had 3,000 sheep mm-hmm. and 1,000 goats. Mm-hmm. And he was shearing his sheep in Carmel.
Go ahead.
Now, the name of the man was Nabal, mm-hmm. and the name of his wife, Abigail. Mm-hmm. And she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, mm-hmm. and he was of the house of Caleb.
Now, he was an Israelite. Mm-hmm. He was of the tribe of Judah, of the house of Caleb. But, hey, you got Israelites that's crazy, that don't want to serve God, that don't want to be right with people. You got them like that, unfortunately. Obviously, to this day, especially nowadays, we scattered out all over. So this man, even though he was wealthy, had a lot of riches, hey, he was an idiot. Mm-hmm. It say the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. But he had a wife that had some understanding, and she had a lot of understanding to know what I just said. She married him. So she knows she was stuck until the Lord did something. It tells you how the man was. That means everybody around knew the man had some issues. Everybody around knew. But she knew it was still her husband. Go ahead, verse 4.
And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. Uh-huh. And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, get you up to Carmel and go to Nabal and greet him in my name.
Now David on the run, Saul trying to kill him. The Lord preparing David to be king, though. Mm-hmm. But Saul trying to kill him right now, so he kind of scuffling out there. And he took care of Nabal, his shearers out there for a while. And then basically what he doing now, he sent 10 young men basically to get some gratitude. Let Nabal show him some gratitude because Nabal loaded.
Right.
So he trying to give him to just show a little gratitude because he in need at this time. But go ahead, verse 6.
And thus shall you say to him that liveth in prosperity.
See, David didn't know the man was crazy. He just knew the man. He looked out for the man, and he figured the man would show some gratitude, just common courtesy.
Right.
Go ahead.
Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast.
Now, David's coming in peace, so-and-so, verse 7.
And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them all the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will show thee. Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand unto thy servants and to thy son David.
So he sent his young men. He said, look, your people was out there, and we looked out for your people. We took care of them, because David and them warriors, and they probably would have had some issues out there, and he probably would have lost money. That's right. If it wasn't for David and his men being out there. Probably would have lost time and money. But David and them took care of him. Now they just asking, just say, whatever you can spare, we would appreciate it. You know, so if you don't believe me, ask your young men. Verse 9.
And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased.
And when they got through, go ahead.
And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David? And who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So David's young men turned their way and went again and came and told him all those things.
So basically the man snapped on him. Said, who is David?
He gonna find out.
Yeah, he about to find out who David, but luckily he didn't. Thanks to the Lord, because David would have been wrong in this matter. But the bottom line, he didn't snap and like, look, I don't care now. I don't know no David. I'm son of Jesse. It don't matter to me. I ain't giving up nothing. That's just unreasonable, especially when you got a whole lot, right? But we already read that the man was churlish and evil in his doings. So he just was just a mean, evil man. Go ahead. 13.
And David said unto his men, gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword.
See, he's about to find out who David was. Go ahead.
And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff.
See, he didn't know who he was messing with. They tried to tell him, you know, they really letting him know, look, this guy probably gonna be the next king. He the son of Jesse, so-and-so, so-and-so. So send him a little something, you know. And that man snapped off, and David said, everybody gird up, we about to ride out. We getting ready to ride out. 400 of them? He about to find out who David is, huh? 14.
But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. Verse 15. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields.
See, all the time we was around them, them men looked out for us. They didn't hurt us. They didn't do nothing to us. They could have took some stuff if they wanted it, but they didn't do nothing. They was cool with us. They kind of was like a little guard for us. They looked out for us all the time we was around them. Go ahead, 16. He gonna keep going.
They were a wall unto us both by day and night. All the while we were with them keeping the sheep.
See, it could have been, it's just like that stuff happened all the time. Just like Moses went out there when he left Egypt, he went out there and them men was abusing them for the daughters of Jethro. They was abusing them at the well, pushing them out of line, making them wait to get to the well and all that. Taking advantage. That stuff went on all the time. And if it wasn't for Moses, hey, they would have been there all day trying to get what they needed. That's why when they got back home, it was evidently a customary thing. When they got back home early that day, Jethro said, how y'all get back so quick? And they said, this cat here, he pounded on them dudes that usually mess with us. And that was Moses. So the same thing here, David and them looked out for the men. They said there was a wall unto us. 17.
Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do.
See, this the young man telling her, like, look, these ain't no punks he done railed on either, by the way. Go ahead.
For evil is determined against our master and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial.
He called him a son of the devil. Now, some women be talking about their husband, but it ain't been proven that they this bad, sisters. Go ahead.
That a man cannot speak to him.
He said, you can't even talk to your husband. You know how your husband is. So you better figure out what you're going to do, because evil determined against him. It's going to come one way or another. So you better figure something out. Go ahead, 18.
Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine and 5 sheep ready dressed and 5 measures of parched corn.
Boy, she got busy quick. Go ahead.
And 100 clusters of raisins and 200 cakes of figs and laid them on asses. And she said unto her servants, go on before me. Behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal.
See, she didn't tell him this. She didn't tell him because she know he was crazy anyway. He might have stopped her. So she said, And this is detrimental. This basically, we found out it's already it's life or death. She might have been dead if she didn't do this. Go ahead, verse 20.
And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill. And behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David said, surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David, if I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall.
See, David was on his way. He was determined. He said, this dude gonna treat me like this? He said, God, do more to my enemies if I leave any of him that piss against the wall by the morning light. I'm getting ready to wipe his whole family out. Go ahead, 23.
And when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off her ass and fell before David on her face and bowed herself to the ground and fell at his feet and said, upon me, my Lord, upon me let this iniquity be. And let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not, my Lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial,
she talking about her own husband,
even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord, whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand, now let thine enemies and they that seek evil to my Lord be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my Lord. I pray, verse 28, I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days.
See, she definitely had some understanding, didn't she?
Yes, sir.
And she went out there, and David was on his way. She said, ain't no need for you to shed blood, avenging yourself, and accept the little gratuity I done brought, and the Lord going to take care of you. Verse 29.
Yet a man is risen to pursue thee and to seek thy soul.
She talking about Saul. She even knew the whole story. See, Nabal didn't seem to know nothing. He didn't care. He was in his own little world. You know, he had a lot of money, so he ain't thinking about none of that. Oh, whatever they doing, I don't care. I'm okay over here. Go ahead.
But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God. And the souls of thine enemies, them shall he sling out as out of the middle of a sling. Verse 30. And it shall come to pass when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he hath spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood costless, or that my Lord hath avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid.
See, she knew exactly who David was, and she knew the Lord was with David, but go ahead.
32. And David said to Abigail, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in every deed as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and come to meet me, surely had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall.
He said it was over with. But he was happy that the Lord gave him that out. Just like the Lord say, if you in temptation, the Lord will make a way out for you to escape it, but you have to accept it. See, if David was hard-headed, he would have said, oh, that's all right, I'm still going to get him. You know, but he knew better. You know, he got what he wanted anyway. He got, you know, he got his gratuity. She brought it to him. She was smart enough to do that. He got it. So he praised the Lord for her and her advice and all of that, understanding that it was God that sent her to stop him from doing that. And he didn't need to even be bothered with that. But it would have been nothing for David to tear that man's house up. That man didn't know who he was dealing with.
Nope.
He should have known David is the one who killed Goliath. He should have heard something, but he was in his own little world. So he said, in very deed as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which kept me back from hurting thee. Because he probably would have been caught up in the mix too. They wouldn't have been watching when they was killing everybody in the house. Except thou hadst hasted and come to me, surely there have not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. 35.
So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person.
See, now David took it and he let her go, and she went back home. Now, this was good to show from a woman's standpoint. She did all that because it was an emergency, but she still went back to her husband. She still went back. You know, she didn't just say, I ain't going back. He crazy. He almost got me killed. Did you see that? They about to kill us. I ain't going back. I ain't never going back to that house. No, she went back home because she trusted in the Lord. Just like the Lord delivered her out of that, made sure that happened, anything else happened, the Lord can deliver. So David said, go on back home. She went back home, 36.
And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast